Good afternoon, people of Sunland Tahanga. I am here to talk to you today a little bit about our local mountain lions. We seem to be having some questions about some paw prints that we're seeing, maybe some figures we're seeing on the ridge, and I just want to clarify some things about mountain lions. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why am I standing in a backyard talking about mountain lions? Because my backyard shares a territory with local mountain lions of Los Angeles. More specifically, P41, who lives in the local Verdugos, and all of his friends that live in Shadow Hills, Sunland, Tahanga. We have a few around here, and we share territory with them. Is that okay? That's totally okay. We've been doing it for many, many years. It's only when we don't protect our situation that we have a problem. So they can be there doing their thing, we can be here doing our thing. When you are a mountain lion, your favorite food is deer, that's who you're going for. In a healthy ecosystem, a mountain lion has no reason to come into a backyard when there are plenty of deer on the other side of the fence. Why are mountain lions important? The mountain lion is the apexiest of our apex predators right here. He's the biggest guy. And because he is at the top of the food chain, his activity affects lots of individuals below him. In fact, the entire territory that he calls his own, he makes a big difference in how healthy it is. And his presence there is very important. When it comes to these mountain lions being near us, what's an emergency? If I see something in the distance and it has a long tail and it's a big cat, is that an emergency? That's not an emergency. If I am hiking and I come across a print on the ground that looks like a mountain lion print, that's not an emergency. We share the territory. I want to just give you a little refresher on mountain lion prints versus dog prints. This is a feline print. Notice it doesn't have any little marks where there should be claws, because felines have retractable claws and they're in when they're walking or running. Canines, on the other hand, this is more of a canine footprint. It's narrower and you will see clear claw marks on the end of it, okay? Feline, canine. But if I see a print, it's still not really an emergency. It's just an amazing opportunity, really. If you're not sure, if you want to find out, I want you to take something, put next to that print for scale, small ruler, your car keys, and take the picture that way. And then submit it to us, and we'll help you figure out what kind of print you found, because it's really exciting to find out what kind of prints are in our backyards or on our hiking trails. What should you be afraid of? How close is it okay for a mountain lion to be? If you see a mountain lion in your backyard, what should you do? Should you be afraid for yourself? Should you be afraid for your children? Should you be afraid for the animals that are in your backyard? The answer is that in general, mountain lions don't attack humans. It's not part of what they want to do. They're afraid of us. In general, there is always an exception. So you always want to be careful. But the number one thing that you should be afraid of when you live in mountain lion territory is the animals that you keep in your backyard. From chickens, to dogs, to cats, to whatever you're doing back there. It's important to have an enclosure that has a lid and that can't be broken into to protect outside animals if they're going to be outside overnight. And when we're talking about mountain lions, in general, our local mountain lions are very nocturnal. So it's mostly overnight that you need to be most concerned about a mountain lion and your pet. But again, if you have to have them overnight, I strongly recommend a lidded enclosure, a chain link enclosure on all sides and a lid on top. And you even have a cement footing so that things can't dig in or out. But we're gonna get there. So the first thing you wanna do if you're concerned about this situation is restrict entry to your backyard. That's not an easy thing to do. This is a very typical fence for our area. It's a 6-foot fence. A 6-foot fence isn't going to keep out any wildlife. You can have a 10-foot wall, you can have barbed wire, you can have a hot wire above a 10-foot wall. Those things are a little bit helpful, but they still would not prevent a mountain lion from jumping over, taking a large dog and jumping back over the fence. So again, overnight, if you have an enclosure in your yard that your dog is in, nobody can come and do anything to your animal. They can come in your yard and they still can't hurt your animal. And that's the important thing. The other thing you want to do is remove any other resources that are around. Whatever's back there, if it's chickens, secure them. If you're someone who is feeding animals outside, maybe you're feeding feral cats, maybe for some reason you're feeding an outside animal. When you feed that outside animal, you're inviting its predator to come also. So think about that. And my recommendation is if you're feeding outside animals or leaving water for them, you bring that in overnight. Otherwise, your backyard becomes a magnet for wildlife. So what is the last thing? We are retraining our current population of animals. When they come into our yard and they are not successful, they're not going to come back. And that's what we're going for. The other thing that I want to add here is when it comes to mountain lions in particular, and when it comes to livestock in particular, maybe you have goats, maybe you have sheep, an Anatolian shepherd, or another such dog that's job is to guard livestock would be something that you might consider for your situation. They have been proven to keep mountain lions away from livestock. And then there are also a number of humane deterrents that you can use in your yard, from mylar strips to little pieces of equipment that will emit sound and or light when motion comes across them at night. That's often enough to scare away a predator. My recommendation when you live in mountain lion country is to do all of those things. Protect your animals, put the wildlife deterrents in place, be aware of what's going on, understand what is an emergency and what is not an emergency. And if you're ever not sure, please do not hesitate to contact the California Department of Fish and Wildlife or any other local wildlife organization, California Wildlife Center, Wildlife Care of Southern California, Turanga Ranch, the Mountain Lion Foundation. There are all kinds of resources for you out there, and we are always happy to help. Thank you for your time and for your attention.